Welcome to Toffee TV, it's the Premier League show. We haven't done it for a while, for obvious reasons. But we're back, we're going to be back doing it again.
What are the obvious reasons?
We just haven't wanted to talk about or Everton continually sliding down it, but no, we will. We're gonna be brave and look at everything.
Big brave boys.
Big brave boys, yeah. Let's begin at the top end-ish of the table, so we don't have to focus on the bottom end. And the race for the top four, which is actually quite interesting at the moment. Obviously, there's a couple of things, isn't it? There's the race for the league, which is Man City, Liverpool, who are flying. Chelsea in the middle, which are better than the rest. And then obviously there's the top four, which has got quite a few teams, United, Arsenal, West Ham, Tottenham, all involved in that. And all separated by a few points. There's games in hand, which changes the permutations now. But Spurs at the weekend went to Leeds and at the 12:30 and won 4-0 and put themselves in a great position to get back in it a few days after Antonio Conte had questioned whether he should actually be at the football club. And that put them into the conversation again, along with Arsenal, along with United, along with West Ham. And the lads on the last man standing have been talking about that and talking about Arsenal actually and how much credit they should get. So let's have a look what they said.
When you look at the Arsenal team and you look at those teams around, and Manchester United should not be doing what we're doing at the moment. It's a disgrace where we are, considering the players that we have in our squad. Spurs, with the manager that they have and the goal scorers that they have, you'd expect them to not be losing 4 out of their last 5 games. And then when you look at Arsenal, Arteta's been questioned for a lot, finished 8th twice. You know, you look around their team, they haven't got a massive squad. They've let go their captain and their biggest goal scorer. And somehow they're doing it, even with Xhaka still in midfield. So, yes, I think Arsenal deserve credit and Arteta deserves credit. Been massively helped by 1 game a week and other teams around them tossing it in. So I think you're right.
Yeah, so they're chatting about, obviously, all of the teams, but Arsenal. If you want to see more of that video, by the way, the whole video, the link is in the description. Go over, watch it. The last fan standings on BetVictor's YouTube channel. Arsenal, we will come on to. They didn't play, obviously. They should have been playing Liverpool at the weekend, but because of the Carabao Cup, they didn't play them. But let's talk about Arsenal then before we go back to Spurs. Arteta, your confidence, he's building something there. He's obviously swapped, Patrick Aubameyang's the latest one to go out the door. He seems to be doing that flip of getting rid of those kind of players. They're having a good season without being amazing. They're having like a solid, winning a lot of games, beating teams they should be beating. And I've got themselves right into the mix. And I've got games in hand, of course, as well. They are Arsenal at 2 points behind United. They occupy 4th at the moment, but they got 3 games in hand. So they're well placed, aren't they?
But the funny thing is, if you look at the table, if Arsenal win their game in hand, I know it's against Liverpool, but they're 2 points behind Chelsea. Never mind Manchester United. Chelsea with 50 points at the moment, and they've got games in hand on all those other teams. But Arsenal got a game in hand on them. So to only be 2 points behind Chelsea, I think that shows you how far they've come this season. I think out of all those teams that were trying to get in the top 4, for me, Arsenal are very much the ones who are building something. I look at the other teams, and I feel like they are still scratching around for something or other, or just you look at the West Hams and the Tottenhams of the world are both sort of not in there by accident, but are having, certainly West Ham are having a really good season, punching above their weight, obviously, and Tottenham. Again, it just feels like it, relying on maybe a couple of players rather than the whole team. With Arsenal, I feel like Arsenal actually building towards something and understand the path they're on and have got rid of players and are bringing very young players in. So I think, Arsenal will be looking at it thinking their aim may not have been top 4 this season, but certainly now I just think you look at them and think they're definitely better than other teams in terms of the direction that they're heading in. I don't know whether that'll get them top 4, but certainly you've got to factor all that in, I think.
They got a tough run in as well. Arsenal play a lot of the teams up that end, so you see that, but they have got the games in hand, and he could, like you just said, you know, win the game in hand and you're 3 points behind Chelsea.
Yeah.
Who knows? But they could put themselves in a good position, certainly on West Ham and United, by winning those games.
Yeah.
Spurs are a weird one, like I said just before. You know, Conte's gone in there, and I don't know whether he seems to be frustrated with what's there, players not responding.
Do you not think, though, what he's frustrated at was he's just had a window and he probably didn't get the players that he visualised he was going to get, or who he asked for.
Are you surprised, though? Because I'm not with Spurs.
No, but I think that...
Because Mourinho moaned about the same thing.
But for all we know, though, he will have been promised things, and if he doesn't... Like he said himself, when they got beat at Burnley last week, he said, essentially, managers have failed here, but and have left, but it's still the same set of players.
Yeah.
And
we say the same thing.
It is ultimately, isn't it? It is ultimately the same set of players, and what he's saying there is, I need new players. Now, he did get a couple, obviously. He did get a couple, but he probably thinks when he looks at that table, if you'd give me the tools I wanted, I could have easily have got you 4th place this season. I think that's where maybe the frustration comes from. I don't know whether that's right. You know, they have got a couple of games in hand in Manchester United, and if they were to win those games in hand, they would be above them. But obviously, they've got to win those games in hand. So they're in a rebuild, in the midst of a rebuild, or are trying to start a rebuild. And as I said, I don't think that's quite where Arsenal are, because Arsenal have gone past that stage, I think, and are gaining momentum with the set of players. They're obviously still a centre forward light, but it's certainly interesting.
Interesting. You know, Spurs won 4-0 at Leeds. Doherty, Kulusevski, who come in, of course, in January with Bentancur. Harry Kane and Son making it a 4-0 victory. Good way to bounce back from the Burnley defeat. They then went and got knocked out the FA Cup, but you know, there you go. Leeds, that 4-0 defeat cost Marcelo Bielsa his job. They've just been far too open, haven't they? Leeds goals, you know, 4 there, 6 against Liverpool, 4 against United, 3 at Everton, 3 at Villa. You can't let that amount of goals in and expect to survive, can you? Really, as a manager.
No, ultimately, I think they've been done by... I mean, I wouldn't want to call it tactical naivety, because he's a very experienced manager, but I think what he's done is he's tried to... He only knows one way to play. Yeah. He's lost a lot of players through injuries. His most important players Calvin Phillips is a hugely important player who you could imagine people will come calling for in the summer. And he's lost Patrick Bamford, who scored a lot of goals last season for him. I know he's had a lot of other injuries during the season, but those two have been out for a lot of the time. And if you're out your best players and you're still trying to play a certain way, and the drop-off, it's what Everton have seen this season, the drop-off is huge. And they're just miles open. You look at the goal difference, it's ridiculous.
And it's 31's not good, is it?
Well, that's an extra point, isn't it? You know, that's like an extra point if it comes down to goal difference. You know, you're not clawing that back, are you? With what, 12 games to go, you aren't clawing that back. So, obviously Jesse Marsch is going in there, and he's obviously new to the Premier League. You know, he had a couple of seasons at Leipzig. You know, gone through the Red Bull system. Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how he fares. Whether he sort of tries to just shut up shop at first, and then.
Do you think they're good enough to do that?
I really don't know, because I've only ever seen them play one style under Bielsa. It's hard, because they're gonna it takes time on the training pitch to do that. And they are very much in it. Let's be honest, they're very much in the mix. Trouble, So you know, he's going to have to get an instant thing. Obviously, if he gets those players back, then and he looks at a couple of other players and thinks, how can I maybe change things with you? Then.
They go to Leicester at the weekend. Leicester have just had a great win at Burnley. They're on 30 points now. You think they'd be safe. I think they beat Leeds, they sorted Leicester. Yeah. So I think they got Vardy back now. He scored against Burnley in midweek. So be a tough one for Leeds that to try to get that result at the weekend, and a tough opening game for you as a manager. Friday night, Southampton, they were on a fantastic run at the moment, particularly at home. They beat Norwich 2-0. standard victory for Southampton, really. Che Adams with a goal in the first half and Romeo putting it beyond doubt in the second half. Southampton 27 attempts at goal to Norwich's 8.
Yeah.
Battered them, really. But they're on a great run, aren't they? They've only lost one home game all season.
Very organised. Very organised team. Very organised. Sitting ninth, aren't they? Yeah. Sitting ninth. I don't see them finishing any higher than that.
No.
But that would be a really good finish for them, considering when they lost to Danny Ings at the beginning of the season. A lot of people thought,
and Vestergaard went as
a lot of people thought that was, but that was going to be it. But they've turned it around brilliantly, brought some good signings in, loans and young players, and they're a very well organised football team. And it'll be interesting to see how long they actually keep hold of their manager. Because I do think a few people will look at him and think that he could
give him some resources.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think he's a very organised, pragmatic manager who gets the best out of players. So it'll be interesting to see how long he's at Southampton for.
Therefore, Norwich obviously bottom of the league, minus 40 goal difference.
Yeah, I think
points.
maybe now not. I mean, listen, I don't know for sure. It's a strange season, but you almost feel like Norwich have had their little run, and it'll be interesting to see how many wins they get. Obviously got the new manager bounce, had a few wins recently, but
they've got a huge game at the weekend. They're at home to Brentford.
Yeah,
who are in the mix. To
be fair, yeah. If they win that,
if they won that, they give themselves.
They're back in the. I mean, I'm not saying they're not cast adrift by any means.
No.
They never have been this season. That's been the thing. They've never been because there's so many. There's you go to 14th and Newcastle on 25 points. For this stage of the season, that's still very, very ordinary. So.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Well, talking of Newcastle, they went to Brentford and won 2-0. Brentford had man sent off after the silver after 11 minutes. And at first, when I seen the challenge, it was like, I thought it was a foul on him.
Yeah.
On the edge of the box. And when you see it again, it's a nasty one. Just jumps and leaves his leg straight on the lad's leg. And he's really shocking challenge. A definite red card for Brentford. And then Joe Linton popped up with a header, good header, and Willock put it beyond with a lovely finish as well to make it 2-0. And they've just continued that. They're on a great run, aren't they, now, Newcastle? Confidence is there. They've got a little steely resilience about them at the moment, and it's enabled them to just grind out results, and a really good result for them there. And like you said, lifted them up to 14th as they entertain Brighton at home at the weekend.
They'll fancy that.
They'll fancy. Brighton will fancy it as well because they find them playing away better than playing at home at the moment. So it'll be an interesting one. They've done really well, Newcastle. Brentford are one where you would look, if we weren't in the midst of it and panicking, and you were looking at it, you'd look at Brentford and go, I think they're in real trouble because they're sinking without a stone, aren't they? They're losing home games. Tony's not scoring goals. I know a fantastic bit of this game was obviously Christian Eriksen making his return. That was brilliant and great to see. We just wonder if they're going to have that thing of enough goals in them. And you look at them and think where they are in the league, they just seem to be losing game after game now. Minus 17, so they're not, there's teams like Leeds with minus 31 and Watford minus 22, Norwich minus 40. So they're not conceding tons and tons and tons of goals, but they're just not scoring goals,
are they?
Considering I think I'm sure they had something like 19 points or 20 points in the first part of the season, and you were thinking they could be all right. They're certainly struggling in the second half.
Obviously the teams around them have got games in hand as well. So I mean, it's obviously you've got to win those games in hand. I mean, Everton have got 3 games in hand on them, with 2 points behind them. Things like that, and that might be their undoing. Palace and Burnley drew 1-1. Burnley, another team who've got some results of late. They followed up the win against Spurs with a good point at Palace. Went behind. Jeffrey Schlupp got an own goal from Milivojevic. Got them a decent point. I know they've played since then, and Leicester have beat them at home 2-0, which has kind of put the brakes on them. But they've done, considering they'd won one game in the first part and they looked dead and buried, they've had that
done that Burnley thing again, haven't they? Of just grinding results out again. And, you know, they're now up to 21 points in 25 games. You know, they're a win off. They got 2 games in hand on Brentford.
Yeah, game in hand on Leeds.
And, you know, they're only 4 points behind Newcastle, so and I think they play each other at the end of the season as well, so they might be, you know, you don't know what that is. Game in hand on Leeds, they win that, they're above Leeds. So that's what these teams have to look at, isn't it, from now is, you know, it might look all depressing right now, but if you can just claw people in, they do have Chelsea at home in the next game, which another home game, they play at home, which is a really, obviously a really tough game, probably one of the toughest home games you can have, isn't it, really? But Crystal Palace, on the other hand, they were in, I wouldn't say they were in trouble, but they were getting clawed back into it, and then he went to Watford and won 4-1 last midweek, and they had a point, like I say, to do with Burnley at the weekend, and have got themselves, I think, into a position now where win every third game, or something like that, they're fine, aren't they? They're on 30 points as well from 27 games. Man United 0, Watford 0. United absolutely battered Watford in this one. But
great point for Watford.
A brilliant point. You know, United 22 attempts at goal, Watford 10, 67%. 2 on target for Watford, 3 for United. They've dropped some points, Manchester United, though, talking about that top 4. They've had opportunities at home. Southampton they'd have had Southampton at home, Watford at home, and their fans would have been going 6 points there, and they took 2 from it. And that's kind of been the thing that's undone them at times this season, isn't it?
They're not a very good team. They're a team of individuals, and obviously
got lots of great individuals.
Yeah, but they just don't click together.
No,
They've lost. Ronaldo he's been playing up front, and they're not playing on the counter attack. There's a lot of crosses coming into the box. It seems a bit of a mess there at the moment. You know,
he did get the winner last week.
No, I just look at them overall, and it's crazy because they are in 4th place. But I suppose they demonstrate how open that all is. You know, they got 47 points on 27 games. They are only 3 points behind Chelsea, but at the same time, they're a very strange team, because you never ever look at them and go, they were brilliant in this game or brilliant in that game. They just about get by, you know, and
they've got good players though, haven't they?
But they're not a good team.
No.
And there's no real through line.
There's
no through line. There's no real, you wouldn't say, oh, they play this way or they play that way. They've just got good players, really good players.
Do you think the Rangnick thing's not helping him? Not that it's anything to do with Ralph Rangnick, because I think he's sad,
I just think
because he's not the manager.
Because they're
Fred saying interim manager's weird and stuff.
Because they're a bunch of egos and a bunch of, like, they want to be in charge. You know, Ronaldo wants to be in charge. You know, Pogba, these people, they need a good old school sort of person in charge of them who just, you know, who puts them in their place. And I imagine having a guy who's only like, they can turn around and go, you won't be here in a few months, mate. I will, you won't. That's not the way to do things, I don't think.
What about Watford at the other end? 19 points.
No, it's a good point.
26.
It's a good, you know, it's an interesting one, because they went to Villa and they got
3 points.
3 points. They got 4 points out of Villa, Crystal Palace, and Manchester United. I'm not, you know, if you'd said to them before and they'd get that, they probably would have bit your hand off for it.
Yeah.
So, away from home, they're obviously getting men behind the ball and trying to play in the counter attack. Different at home, of course. But obviously with the new manager, they've got, because there are still 7 teams, I'd say, in it. Then they're not out of it, because you're talking 1 win could mean a huge difference at 1 win. So they're not out of it, and obviously they've got someone in Roy Hodgson who's got the experience of getting out of it.
Absolutely. But no, really good point for them. Brighton 0, Villa 2. Villa were starting to be a little bit worried on 27 points before this one. Weren't having great form, but have gone to Brighton and won it 2-0. 2 good goals, actually. Matty Cash with the first one, Ollie Watkins with a well-taken second, which has got them up to 30 points now. So for them, they'll breathe a little bit easier, and they're now only 3 points behind Brighton who were having a great start to the season and haven't, been started losing lately. They've only won 7 games all season. Villa have won 9. Everton have had a terrible season, and Brentford have both won 6. So Brighton have won a game more than them 2. Weird, isn't it? Brighton are weird, aren't they?
Yeah.
In this game, 67% of the ball, 12 shots of Villa's 9.
They've not got a striker. It's as simple as that. Not got a striker who can score goals, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
They don't score goals, enough goals anyway.
Yeah. But they could still win a couple of games, and it'll be the highest ever finish. So, or the highest finish under Potter, certainly. And obviously, at the top of the table, Man City went and got a fortuitous win at Goodison. To put them 6 points ahead of Liverpool, but Liverpool obviously got a game in hand to keep that title race burning. On Sunday, another team who was in the midst of it is for the top 4's West Ham, and they beat Wolves, who've been on a great
big win that.
Huge win.
Wolves, I think, are still in the race for the top 4.
But when you look at it, they're only, if we're saying Spurs are in the race for it, then Wolves are only 2 points behind.
So they're still very much in the race for top 4 or Europe. So this was a big win for West Ham.
Yeah. Thomas Soucek.
Soucek, who hasn't obviously hit the height he did last season, scored the goal, but a typical Moyes kind of win.
Yeah. Wolves had 61% of the ball. Now 14 shots of West Ham's 13. 4 on target for the Hammers, 1 for Wolves, and that tells the story. Hwang Hee-chan missed a great chance at 0-0.
Yeah.
Should have scored, should have hit the target at least.
But West Ham are still very much in the... They're in the... I think it's the top 8 is the teams who are going to get Europe. So, depending where the FA Cup goes, of course.
Yeah, of course.
It could drop down to 7th. But I do think it's that, the top 2, top 3 will be the top 3, I imagine. But it will become down to, Wolves will be in there. One of them will miss out. It'll be still very interesting who that team will be. And Wolves won't be writing themselves off. But for West Ham, this was a huge win. They've got 11 games left and on 45 points.
Well, it's gone to 6 now, isn't it?
It is 6. It is 6 right now.
Liverpool,
but obviously it could 7 could be the conference.
It could be the conference.
So I think it'll be one of the top 8 as it stands will be unlucky. Southampton are 5 points behind Wolves. I don't see them making that ground up. And no one behind them I think will make that ground up. So it's going to be one of them. So that's why this was such an important win for West Ham, who've been second half of the season have spluttered a little bit. Antonio stopped scoring the goals. They've had to dig in. Jarrett Bowen's filled the gap a little bit, but it's typical Moyes. It's Moyesy.
It's Moyesy. It is interesting at both ends, though. Very interesting at both. Everything to play for, really.
Yeah.
For
wide
both,
open.
so
Wide open.
There you go. Let us know what you think in the comment section about who will get top 4, who will get that place, and who's going down. Let us know. Don't forget to check out that BetVictor app with BetVictor video with the lads on it. The full, I think it's a 20-minute video, some good discussions on it. Link is in the description, so make sure you check that out. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and if you want more videos, including daily live videos, join us on Pace, and the link is also in the description. See you later.